We'll pass it off now to our presenters, Christy and Patrick.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Christy. I'm a professional learning specialist with I2E and a teacher from Tacoma. Today, we're going to discuss, we'll get to know Dugga with Patrick. He'll start us off with their background and story, and then you'll get a chance to be a student and experience Dugga, and then I'll take you into the teacher side so that you can see what it's like to use this tool as a teacher. And at the end, we'll save time for questions. So just to get started, let's chat a little bit about what is your favorite way to assess student learning. So take a moment and type your answer in the chat. We won't be answering live questions unless there's a burning question. So save your raising your hand until the end. But if you have some questions, you can type them in the chat box and we will get back to them. But otherwise, if you could share your favorite way to assess your student learning. Great, I see Emily has shared that she loves to use forms or quick polls in a virtual meeting. It's a great idea. And Kahoot by Sheila, thank you for sharing. Before today, I would have said probably forms or not today. Before I got to know this tool, I would have said forms or OneNote, but man, I can't wait to show you what Dugga has to offer. It's everything in an assessment tool that, as an educator, I've always wished for. So I'm excited to show you some of these neat tricks that this tool can offer. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to now pass it on to Patrick.
Okay, hey everybody, my name is Patrick Nilsson. It's a pleasure to be here together with you today. And I am one of the founders of Dugga, together with Claudia Rademacher. And I have a background as a teacher since 1987. And since 1994, I've been working in higher education. Actually, it was in higher education when I was working there together with a couple of colleagues. We thought, how can we do or how can we change knowledge assessment and use the power of computers in some way so that it will be easier for teachers to do knowledge assessment, such as exams, assignments, homework, home exams, and so on. And then we started the project to develop the platform Dugga. And what we've seen throughout the years is that we actually can dramatically improve quality in learning by transforming knowledge assessment. And I'll show you in the next slide a couple of problems that we see with knowledge assessment. So a couple of problems with knowledge assessment or assessing knowledge is it's time consuming. A lot of time goes into activities related to assessment. And if we can free that up by using, for instance, Dugga's auto marking and auto grading, then we can spend that time on the students instead. Another thing that we've seen in a survey that we've conducted is that a lot of teachers think that assessment is the least appealing part of their job. Teachers going, or when you become a teacher, going to college and university, your first thought is not to go to school and start marking and grading exams, assignments, and so on. What you want to do is to make students learn and grow as people, and that is what is the driving force behind being a teacher. So another problem that we've seen is unequal opportunities when conducting knowledge assessment. So 1 out of 5 students, they have special needs. And with the accessibility tools in Dugga, we can we can make it more equal, even when you're doing the exams. Another thing is that teachers are biased when marking and grading, just like we all are. And with Dugga and anonymous grading and marking and grading, then, well, you will never be biased. So teachers will be unbiased. So it doesn't matter if what your name is, your background, and so on. Another thing is unnecessary stress. You know, taking an exam is a stressful moment. And with Dugga, not only that the teachers are saving time, we've also seen that students are saving time. So they can write exams twice as fast compared to ordinary exams. And thereby they can focus on showing what they've learned. And that is also an important part of the advantages with Dugga. So on the next slide, we can summarize what research shows that Dugga does and how it improves learning outcomes. It is time saving, as I mentioned, for both teachers and students. We have also seen that with Dugga, students are providing better answers. They're providing more elaborate answers, so they're really showing their knowledge. We have the equal opportunities dimension with accessibility tools that makes it easier for students with special needs. It is more fair, as I mentioned, with anonymous marking and grading. So, and in addition to that, we also have plagiarism analysis that you can use to compare all the students in the class and against all the documents on the internet to make it really fair that you're not plagiarizing. And in addition to that, Dugga is also a part of the digital ecosystem, so you can use Dugga together with Office 365 or Teams. And then we have also focused on security so that you can have full lockdown, so that you can be absolutely sure that the student is doing the exam and nothing else if you want to. In the next slide, then we have this thing about the question types. At Dugga, we're often saying that the heart of a digital exam system is the question types, so that you as a teacher can ask questions in several different ways. And thereby you can ask questions in many different ways, and you can use many different question types, not only essay questions or multiple choice questions, but 18 more question types that you have at your disposal. And then thereby you can do a multifaceted knowledge assessment. In the next slide, Dugga works with Microsoft resources. So you can find Dugga in Teams, O365, Windows, Edge, Windows Take a Test, and so on. So you'll have Dugga in a familiar environment and can use it with the tools that you're used to. And in the last slide, I want to say a few words from the student perspective. So in the next slide, there we have a couple of comments or statements from students. I feel safe knowing that my grade is based on my knowledge and not my last name. So you get that safety as a student. And also this thing, finally, I don't need to stress so much during exams, and I can really focus on showing what I've learned. And that is just a couple of comments that are coming back again and again and again. And we are really pleased at Dugga to see that we can help improve learning outcomes and make students feel better when doing exams and other types of knowledge assessment. And with that said, I would like to pass over to Christy.
Hello. So now for the exciting part, you get to try taking an exam just like a student would. So we're going to place a link in the chat box to this exam, and you'll use the code right here on the screen to enter as a participant. And I'm going to ask you to pick one or two question types to try out, and then we'll come back and share. What did we notice? Did we have any wows? And did we have any wonders? So go ahead and access. If Kelly, can you make sure to post the link in the chat box for our participants? And then you'll use, again, this code on the screen. Becky or Kelly, can you post the link to the exam in the chat?
Yes, absolutely, Christy. We're just finding it now.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. It is in the notes section of this slide.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you. So while they're getting that up, there are many different question types to pick from, and you'll see, can you go to the next slide really quick, Kelly, and I'll prepare you for entering the exam and we'll come right back. So when you come into the exam, you'll choose your preferred language down at the bottom. And you can also decide if you'd like to listen to the instructions. So I would love it if one or a few of you would like to try that out. And then you'll select Start Exam. And next slide, please. There you go. So, and you'll see your list of slides or selected questions off to the right. So again, just pick a couple of those to try out. And I see, thank you so much, Kelly. The link is in the chat as well as the code. And we'll take about 3 or 4 minutes to just try that out. If you have any trouble accessing the exam, please let us know in the chat box. And Kelly, can you progress 2 slides, please? So once you're in, you're going to have the opportunity to pick 1 or 2 of these questions, and you can come back in later if you want to explore more. But go ahead and try 2 of these. Take note of some wows and wonders, and then I encourage you to try leaving the exam and coming back and seeing what happens there. It's a pretty neat experience for the students who might be taking an exam and navigating away from the web page. So we'll talk about that too in just a moment.
Christy, I do see Fiona has her hand up, and I don't know if she needs help getting into the student exam or has a question. But Fiona, if you need help, feel free to come off mute and ask or post to the chat. If you have a question for us, you can either hold on to that until the Q&A time at the end, or you can post it to the chat now and we'll make sure to get back to it.
There's no chat on mine.
Oh, okay. And so sometimes that happens if you've joined a call from an organization that doesn't allow it, but you can always talk like you just did. We're happy to have you with us.
I wonder if there would be a way to send her the link, a quick link in another way, or we could post it on the slide if she can access the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just, Kelly, can you go ahead and just paste that onto the slide that we're on now? Just do a quick modification of the slide. Yeah, great. We're glad you spoke up, Fiona, because that might be the case for more than just you, and now we've been able to help everyone. And that student could as well, Kelly. Yeah. Christy, we do have someone saying they got an invalid code message. Jackie, would you like to just try that code one more time? Especially if you copied and pasted, there might have been an extra character somewhere. We are having other people able to join. Case sensitive. Thank you, Emily. Very helpful. So let's make sure to use capital letters.
If you're wondering which one to choose, one of my favorite question types is number 5. So I encourage a few of you to give that a try as well. Okay, about 1 more minute to finish that up. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to the next slide. Just in case you did not navigate away, and didn't get a chance to see this, this is what will happen if you are taking an exam and open another tab or leave the window. You'll see this, please do not leave the exam. Your teacher will be notified. So no matter what type of device or where the student is testing, you will be notified as the teacher if they are navigating to other windows or whatever the case may be. So that testing security is beautiful right there in that slide, or right there in the program. So you don't have to do anything. The student just sees this like, oh no, I didn't mean to leave it, or whatever the case, but you as the teacher are notified. Okay, if you haven't had a chance to do so, please share something you noticed or excited you, something that wowed you or you wondered about in the chat. I saw that Melanie wondered if it records how long they were away, and yes, it does. Emily's, wow, so many different types of questions and answers. Liana really liked the assessment. It's very visual and a great variety of question types. Wonderful, thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that you might go back in and try out a few more after the webinar, but we're going to go ahead and proceed. Please move to the next slide. So now we're diving into the student experience just a bit more. So we're going to take a step back and think about how a student might access a Dugga exam or know that they need to do that. So if they're in person or even in a remote learning situation, the great thing about Dugga is that it comes right on the student's calendar. So as you can see here, I have two options. One, where this is an ongoing assessment. So maybe I'm going to make sure that my students at some point this week take my 5th grade fractions assessment. Or another option might be that just within this 2-hour window, I want to make sure that students are taking this exam. So depending on the needs of your students, if it's remote, you might give them an extended period of time. If you're in a traditional school day, you might align your times with your class so it shows right up on their calendar. Next slide, please. Once the student clicks on their calendar invite, they'll see the times of the exam and they'll just click Open Dugga and it automatically opens right into their assessment. And on the next slide, we are going to go ahead and jump into a live demo. So, quickly share my screen here. So now as a teacher, this is the landing page as a teacher. So we're coming on back to the teacher experience. As you can see here, I have all of the assessments that I've created for my students. I can see if I've assigned this exam. I can see if it's planned or just in there for the future. I can see if I've favorited this exam to come back quickly. And the great thing here that I love the most is shared exams. So it's very easy for a teacher to be able to share with their team. So as if you're working in a professional learning community and you're all doing common formative or summative assessments, you can easily share the load and share your exams. And next slide, please.
That's now, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a new exam. So I'll click new. And right away, I'll just give it a quick name and I can specify a subject or not. I can decide if I want grading, so points, or I can utilize a rubric. Extra examiners, this is a wonderful place if you have like a co-teacher or you're teaming up with your special ed teacher. You can have other examiners on your test. And this is where you can share the questions with others on your team. So a quick way to share the load, and you might give a description. So if you're sharing this assessment, you can also turn on or off the use read speaker. So that message you saw at the very beginning where you can click have this read to me, you may want that on or off. And let's do that. I've created this assessment. A few things. These are all the different question types. And if I just wanted to do an essay, right here, I've got essay, and there's so many great options down here. One, I might add an image here for my students to describe or respond to, or even a video. So I can quickly throw in a video link that either I've created or maybe something I've found on YouTube or Stream that I'd like to share with my students and have them respond. I can quickly decide if I want to limit their answer length or turn on or off the spell check. Now, there are lots of different question types, and I know you had the experience of trying those out as a student. And if you're wondering as a teacher, well, what do all these question types mean? What one would be best for my students? There's a couple ways you can go about it. You can hover right over the question type, and it will give you a little summary of what that question type is. So fill in the gap. This question type is where the student would fill in word gaps with a word or number, and it's automatically graded. If I wanted to have my students do an assignment where I really wanted to make sure that their plagiarism was checked, so maybe they're responding to a prompt, and maybe it's not even an assessment, more of like a written paper or an essay, this one has the plagiarism analysis built right in. When working with math, it's really handy to have a tool like this where I can quickly insert the formulas or the symbols that I need for my students. So really quickly on a math type question or a GeoGebra question, I have my math options built right in here. The other way you can go about learning to do or learning about all of these questions is right from the wiki here. When you click on the wiki, you'll see that there is a very handy teacher's guide right over here, as well as a video for each question type that you might be interested in learning more about. The final part that I want to show you is when you are creating a new exam, you can actually choose right from your archive, because I know we, as teachers, we utilize similar question types all the time. So when I click choose from my archive, I can filter down based on subject or level if I have quite a few different types of exams, or I can quickly access all of the different types of questions I've used in the past to add to my exam. And now we're going to go ahead and go back into the slide deck. I will stop sharing here and we'll get back to the slide deck to show you just a few more things. And proceed to the next slide. Okay, here we are. So when a teacher comes into Dugga, they can click on grading, and right there, once a student has completed an exam, you can see it. You have a to-do where you can go in and review what your students have turned in. So it's very quick and easy. You go to grading tab and you've got your to-do right there, and you know that they've done it. In a remote environment, it can be challenging to know if your students are ready for you to review their assessment. And this, as a teacher, it's very simple for you to come in and be ready. And on the next slide, you'll see that once you dive into grading, there are many question types that automatically grade for you, but as the teacher, you are making that final decision. For example, you can see right here, this question was marked incorrectly because the student did not spell the word volume correctly. So it was easy for me to quickly change the points and give them a quick note of feedback. So you have an option for all questions to give feedback to one student or give that same feedback to all of your students. And next slide. So as a teacher, when I'm ready to assign an assessment to my students, I go to the Dugga app on the left menu of Teams, and you'll automatically see all of the exams that you have ready to go and create an exam event for your students. You can easily stay right in Teams to do that, or if you need to go make some tweaks really quickly, maybe you want to add one more assessment or you changed something on your exam, you can go ahead and click Open Dugga and be right back in there, make the changes, and then you're ready to go back here in Teams. And as you'll see on the next slide, as the teacher, once I click assign this exam, I have the option to either select entire classes or individual students. And this is so important as we differentiate for our students. Maybe I'll have a few different types of exams based on my students' needs. So I can again select classes or specific individuals from classes. And this is handy if I want to do a pre-assessment or post-assessment, or maybe a student needs to do a retake. I don't have to assign it to my whole class. And now I'm just wondering, do you have any questions before? So actually, I'm going to flip it over to Patrick because he has big news. I just saw that, and then we'll jump into questions. So exciting news for you participants.
Yeah, so what we're offering is not only for you as a teacher who are attending this webinar, but also for your entire school, a 90-day free trial of Dugga Advanced. So it is just to claim your free Dugga license, and you do that on the link that you can see. So you have the link at the bottom, which will also be provided in the chat perhaps. And so it is just to go there, and then you will be able to start working with Dugga for exams, assignments, homework, diagnostic tests, and all kinds of knowledge assessment. Great, so it's just to start today. Okay, Christy, are we off for questions? Or?
Yes, time for some questions, and I see some coming in the chat now.
Yeah, should I go?
Let's see, I see that Gunjar, excuse me if I'm pronouncing your name right, please let me know. The option of listening to questions is great for students who have difficulty and can really be helpful. Let's see, and here's people
Christy,
saying
I'm happy to call out the.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, so here's some questions that have come up. I'll try to categorize them as they are. It looks like, Patrick, in the last slide, you just told them how much it would cost if they had to pay for it, but after that 90 days. So that was one of the questions, the cost of the app, and that was $9.99, right, per student. And then there are a couple questions that are really related to crafting the exams, so I'll ask those at the same time. So when it comes to creating the exam, is there a question bank, or do you have to make those questions yourself?
It is actually both, just like Christy showed. So Dugga is actually created first and foremost so that you as a teacher will be free to create your questions in any way you want to. So you can create all the questions yourself. And you can, of course, also look at books and so on and put in questions from elsewhere or from documents that you have. But you also have the possibility to use the Dugga archive, where you can have questions together with colleagues at your school. And you can also have, by using QTI, you can also import questions from a test bank, for instance. So the answer is both.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Okay, so is there a way to make multiple versions of a test really quickly so that students, you know, you could give different versions to different sets of students?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that. And it is what you do. You can have you start with one exam that you have created, and then you give that to one class. And then you just change a couple of questions, and then you give that to the second class, and you change a little bit more and give that to the third class. So it's really easy and smooth to do that and to schedule those exams as well.
Perfect.
And you can have 3 exams ongoing at the same time for 3 different classes if you would like to.
Love it. Awesome. So can it be used for early year students, for the younger students?
Well, absolutely. I would say in several countries they're using it, I mean, for first graders. We even have examples where they're using it in kindergarten, because you have read speaker and immersive reader. So even though you cannot read, you can listen to the questions.
That is awesome. I love that feature of reading, being able to read it. It's just such a super thing for everyone. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so then there's some questions with regard to there was a question about canned questions or create my own, which you already answered with regard to you can create your own, or there's a test bank to pull from. Then some of the questions came from when they were experiencing it, and there was the drag, like on the, I think it came from the planets, where you had to click on the words and then click on the planet. They were curious if there's ever any drag and drop feature.
Yeah. Absolutely. You have drag and drop that you can use. You can link things together. You can match. You can do it in several. You have word gap, word menu. You can point out things in an image and so on. So you have a lot of different options so that you can evaluate knowledge in several different ways. So, and I see a question. I just opened the chat, so I can see a question here from Melanie Claybar. Does it record how much time they were away, you know, using exit check? And the answer is yes. The system is recording, so you can see if it's 2 seconds they were away or 20 minutes. So you can always see that. And remember also that that is what you just saw is just one version of security. You can also have full lockdown if you want to, and then you cannot leave the exam at all. So, and it's the teacher, of course, that is choosing what kind of exam it should be.
Perfect. Yes, and there was definitely a question about whether it could be locked down. So there's a couple of questions about speech to text or verbal or oral answers. Is there a way for students to answer a question verbally or speech to text?
Yeah. The student, what students are usually doing when they're using Dugga is that they are recording, they're doing a recording or speaking their things, and then they're just uploading it as a file in Dugga. So you will have that as an option.
Perfect.
Also.
Awesome. A couple other questions about students' responses. When they answer a question and submit, are the correct answers immediately given to them, or do they have to wait until a report is given, like the teacher grades it?
Yeah, it is like this. The correct answers, they will not get that immediately, since it's an exam system, so the teacher will have the power to do it in a way that the teacher wants to. But when it comes to the auto-marked and auto-graded question types, those question types that are automatic, if you want to, you can display the points that they have gotten on those question types immediately, if you would like to. So it's you as a teacher, you're choosing whether you want the students to see that instantly, or if they're going to see the results after you have marked and graded the whole exam. including manual question types such as essay question, for instance.
Awesome. Okay, so then the question, can students save and come back later? So there's the feature where if they leave the exam, it captures the fact that they've left it to go to a different place. But is there a way to save their response and come back to the exam later?
Yeah. Yes, it can be, considering that Dugga is not only for exams, but for assignments. So let's say that you have an assignment and you want the students to do the assignment in school, in class. So let's say that then you have the assignment on Monday morning from 9 to 10, and then they do the exam, or then they do the assignment or part of it. And then it stops at 10 o'clock in Monday morning. Then they can continue on Wednesday and start the exam again. And then on Friday they continue. So you can work in that way as well if you would like to. And then of course they can come back to the exam and continue whenever you want to. So you can have it, either you can have the exam open the whole week, or you can have it open for, let's say, 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Wednesday, and 1 hour on Friday.
Awesome. I love that. Another question was about plagiarism, and I'm pretty sure that that was on one of your slides, that you can check for plagiarism among the students who took the test.
Yes. Yes. And then it will be what the students, if it's a home exam or an assignment, the system will compare all the students against each other and against all the documents on the internet.
All right. So then, go ahead.
Yeah, and you'll get a report also from the system showing the report how much that has been plagiarized in percentages, and also you will get the links to the places where they have gotten or where they have copied things.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Okay, so there's questions about language, one about and devices. So it's cross platforms, right? You can take a test on any device.
Yeah.
Okay, and then with languages, what languages are supported? One is one part of the question, and another part of the question is, can you create the questions in English, but then students answer the questions in a different language?
Yes, of course. So if we take the last question, yes, you can make a question in French, and they're supposed to answer in English, or vice versa. So that is no problem. When it comes to the system language that are supported, we have currently 10 different languages. So, if there is a new school in a new market, then it takes roughly 1 week for us to translate and to deploy that language. So it doesn't take a long time at all. Perfect. To get a new language.
Awesome. Specifically, asked if Hindi language was supported.
Currently, Hindi is not supported. English is supported, but we will be happy to translate into Hindi as well.
Perfect. Okay, so then it looks like we're down to our last couple questions, and one of those is since school has ended for the semester, for the year for most of us, would there be a possibility for the free trial to start that you're so generously offering in September so that they could use it with students? Awesome.
Absolutely. So you will decide yourself when it starts. Actually, I would say that the best thing is to apply now and to send it in, and then we will make a small rollout for you. So you can start over the summer to do some experimentation and try out with your colleagues. So, and in effect, you will start from 1st of September. So no worries.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then the last question that I see is if there's a free version of the app.
Well, we have this offer, the free offer that I'm mentioning now. And then in addition, like the price that we saw in the beginning, in addition to that it's free for several months, we'll also have, if you're applying for Dugga now, then you will also get 50% discount for the first year in addition.
Okay, great. So generous. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's wonderful. Okay, I think I covered every question. It says, is the cost $9.99 student per year? And that's, yes, it's a yearly subscription. Yes, yeah. All right, I think I have covered all of the questions that I saw in the chat. If anyone can't see the chat and has a question, feel free to raise your hand and or come off mute. Now would be a great time to do that. And we'll just wait a moment.
Yeah. And everybody, one more thing, everybody who has been part of today's webinar and who wants to get more information, it is just to contact us on dugga.com. So if you go to the website, dugga.com, there you can get in contact with us and ask additional questions related to Dugga. So please take the opportunity to go to dugga.com and start communicating with us, and also so that we can set up Dugga for you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Is there any other questions that anybody has?
We have a question there from Jackie something. If we have bulk discounts, we'll be pleased to come back with you with offers, additional offers that is related to if you want a lot of licenses. So no problem at all. We'll arrange that for you.
Awesome. So wonderful. I do have a couple more slides to share, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time, but we definitely want to make sure that you have this information before we get off the call. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a minute. First, I'm going to share this in the chat. There is, for attending today, there is a promo code for, so sorry, hold on, let me share my screen. A promo code for participating in the webinar. And so you'll see that you can go to education.microsoft.com and you can enter, and I put it in the chat as well, but for those who do not have a chat, you can enter this achievement code. If you do not have a login with education.microsoft.com, it is super easy to create one. You just click on the sign in button at the top right hand corner and use a Microsoft email, and it will allow you to get in. And then you select redeem achievement code and you can enter that. And of course, this is all recorded, so if you aren't able to get it out, get it all down, we will make sure that you'll see it in the recording. All right, and then I do have one more slide to share with you, but I'll give you a moment to write this down or screen capture it really quickly. And then the last thing is that we would love for you to complete this survey, and I'm going to put that in the chat as well, so that we can hear from you about what you thought about the webinar and the resources. Definitely, as Patrick has pointed out already, you are going to receive that free license for 90 days. This helps us with you filling out with you filling out this survey, then we are able to collect that information and know that you are here and send you important information back. And also, of course, feel free to follow Dugga and Microsoft EDU, and as well as any hashtags of assessment about the products. All right. There's a question about could we get certificate? That promo code that was on the last slide, that is where you would get certification that you participated in this, but that's essentially the way that we would provide that certification. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can get back to seeing if anybody has any last thoughts or questions. So, Patrick, could you share with us some schools that have been using it and the resources or the what you found and what the benefit they've seen from this have been.
Yes, we have several. I mean, we have several schools throughout Europe and now also in United States and in Asia that are using Dugga, in Africa and South America as well. So actually in all continents. And for instance, here in Sweden and in the Netherlands, we have several showcase schools, even Microsoft showcase schools that are using Dugga. And their experience is actually that they are so happy with, for instance, the new Teams app, so that you can work with Dugga in a familiar environment together with Teams. And that you can do now when it has been school closures and so on, that they've been able to do live proctoring. So inside of Dugga, or when you're scheduling an exam in Teams, you can also schedule a Teams meeting at the same time. And then you can look at the students, what they're doing, and that they're working on the right thing and so on. And you can also add exit check, for instance, that we saw. So that is a couple of the things that they've appreciated. They also appreciate like the plagiarism analysis, so that you can do assignments and you will have automatic plagiarism control that is being done at the same time. What else can I bring up? Well, of course, the many question types. And that started out with a research project almost a decade ago, that we were thinking of, okay, everybody's focusing on essay questions and multiple choice questions. And multiple choice questions is really difficult to use. But then we have this one European school that, in collaboration with them, we developed additional question types, and it has been so appreciated. And as a matter of fact, we are writing an article together with them that will be out on Microsoft as a blog post. We cannot reveal much yet, but it will soon come, where you can see how they think about using Dugga for knowledge assessment. And they are also pointing out these things about how much time you can save with Dugga as an exam platform. And also that the students, they don't feel so much stress. And that is something that is coming back to us again and again and again. This thing about that students can do their exams twice as fast, that it's anonymous and unbiased, and that you have the accessibility tools at your fingertips as a student.
Yes, those are all great points. And with remote learning coming into play this year for the first time for many of us, it's become a hot topic. I know at our school it was, how do we assess when we can't see our kids? And so this is really a great call. But even when remote learning isn't part of the landscape, right? So when we get back to being in classes all the time, this still is a really great tool for many reasons.
Absolutely. And before the school closures all over the world, then we had actually like 99.9% of our customers, they were doing assessment in class at school. So that is actually where Dugga belongs. But the good part is, of course, that you can also use Dugga for remote learning. So you have this double functionality, so you can use it in both ways. Which is, of course, really good.
For sure, yes. Okay, so we have a question about connecting with the Dugga app team in India, but really that's you guys, right? So essentially, if you reach out via the URL that we had already sent, I'll put it back in the screen, back on at the bottom of the chat, as soon as I can find it.
Yes.
We will, if they reach out to you, you're the team.
Yeah, I see this question related to India, and obviously that person has had contact with our director in India, Christopher Litterin. And of course, it's just to please go into dugga.com and then send us a message through the web page, and we will definitely get in contact with you, and also together with Christopher.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wonderful. Well, if we have met everyone's needs and answered all questions, then I guess we could wrap up a little bit early. But does anyone have anything else?
Well, it has been a pleasure to meet you all in this webinar, and I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day and night, Patrick, and everyone else who's joining from very late. Thank you so much for being on the call so late.
Great. So thank you very much for having me and the Dugga team. It's been really a pleasure to meet you all, and see you soon again. And go into dugga.com and get in contact with us so that we can give you your free Dugga account for your entire school, not only for you.
So generous. Thank you so much, Patrick. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop the recording for sure. And